Has Rick Santorum's 2016 presidential campaign been a national disgrace? Is the Pope Catholic? No, seriously. Is the Pope Catholic? Because Rick Santorum doesn't seem to agree with him on much.
You suggested recently that the Holy Father should stay out of the debate on climate change. Here you are.
The church has gotten it wrong a few times on science. And I think that we probably are better off leaving science to the scientists.
If he's not a scientist, and in fact he does have a degree in chemistry, neither are you.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, this is why Rick Santorum will never be president. Howdy gang, Rick Santorum is a total joke, and I don't just mean that he's incompetent, I mean literally his name is a dirty joke on Urban Dictionary that I can't repeat here, but I'll try. It's the frothy mixture of lube, fecal matter, anal sex. Now, how did this definition come about? Well, it all started in May 2003 when Rick Santorum made these comments about gay marriage, and I quote, "In every society, the definition of marriage has not ever, to my knowledge, included homosexuality." That's not to pick on homosexuality. It's also not, man on child, man on dog, or whatever the case may be. I would normally say a joke here, but jokes are only possible when something can be made to sound more stupid. So now we know that Rick Santorum is very passionate about word definitions. The definition of marriage simply cannot be compromised. And so, in response to this, LGBT activist Dan Savage thought it would only be fair to clarify the definition of Santorum. But Rick Santorum didn't let this hold him back, and so he fought valiantly for the subjugation of homosexuals, and in response, he lost his re-election bid for Senate in Pennsylvania by 18 points. With this vote of confidence, Rick Santorum assumed, the people of Pennsylvania probably just wanted me to have more power, but I'm a little too relevant right now, so I'm going to wait 5 years to seek higher office. And so he did. And on July 15th, 2011, Rick Santorum made his big announcement.
The most common question I've had over the past 20 months was, are you running?
It's a great question, because nothing is a greater cause for concern than running Santorum.
The President of the United States said this, and he was talking about Medicare, Medicaid, and unemployment insurance. And he said, the country is a better country with those programs. I'll go one step further, he said. America was not a great country until those programs. Ladies and gentlemen, America was a great country before 1965.
Oh yeah, America was straight up awesome before 1965. I can't think of a single problem that required government intervention in the United States in 1965. Or 1865 for that matter. In fact, that whole era was the peak for people like me, Rick Santorum. I can't imagine what about President Obama's upbringing would make him uncomfortable with life in America before 1965. He's just a dirty, no-good socialist.
And he was talking about Medicare, Medicaid, and unemployment insurance. America was a great country before government decided that it had to start taking from those. Sorry, we have someone I think the heat has got to them. So make sure if there's any emergency personnel that can get here.
Oh my God, that poor old woman. She's going to have to go to the emergency room. Good thing she has Medicaid. Oh shit. Looks like Rick Santorum's superpower is having his economic conservatism immediately undermined by reality. We need to cut Medicaid. Old woman faints in the audience. Fire department should be fiscally responsible. Somerset, Pennsylvania bursts into flames. I think also we should defund NASA. Aliens show up, abduct Rick Santorum, and probe him. Anally. Repeatedly. The point is, Rick Santorum's 2012 campaign got off to a terrible start. His polling average is represented in this chart, appropriately, by a milky brown color. For the majority of the campaign, Rick Santorum was polling dead last among the 8 Republican candidates. But if you know your campaign history, you'll know that he ended up finishing second. So what led to this Santorum surge, a phrase that makes me feel gross and uncomfortable? Well, in 2012, Mitt Romney was the frontrunner for the Republican nomination, and Republicans pretty much chose him in the same way that you would choose the weird quiet kid with the Naruto lunchbox to be your partner for the group project. You choose him because you know he'll get the job done, but it doesn't stop you from desperately looking around the room to see if there's anyone cooler. And so the Republicans did that, and they weighed their options in late 2011, and when they did, each one rose in the polls accordingly. But as they passed through August,
the Tea Party is a dynamic force for good in our national conversation.
September,
commerce, education, and
October,
and I believe these words came from the Pokemon movie,
and November.
They're not going to be the nominee.
You're going to be the nominee.
I'm going to be the nominee.
It was clear that none of these people were fit to be the nominee. They were just a bunch of nobodies from the bourgeoisie. But the Republicans were still not satisfied with Mitt Romney, and they continued to search for an alternative. However, the only candidates left were former Utah governor and cardboard cutout of a generic politician John Huntsman, Texas representative and well-meaning but still pretty insane grandpa Ron Paul, and former Pennsylvania senator and fecal leakage synonym Rick Santorum. Facing that stiff competition, Rick Santorum won 11 states in the primaries and ended up being the second most successful Republican candidate in 2012, which is sort of like being the second most pleasant-smelling turd in a turd competition. Now, you might notice that this video is almost over, and I still haven't really talked about Rick Santorum's 2016 campaign. And the reason for that is there's just not that much to talk about. He's polling at 12th place out of 14 candidates at 0.6%. He's been in the junior varsity, undercard, second-rate, kiddie table, Jim Hanks debate every single time, and he's done very little to distinguish himself from the field. Still, though, he did have one moment at the Fox Business debate that stuck out.
You know who I respect in the Democratic Party? You know why I respect them? Because they fight!
And you know why I respect Rick Santorum? Because he's really good at yelling into microphones to emphasize his points! And that is why Rick Santorum will never be president.
Because they fight!